Daniel. We have Sandeep. Can you open your cam?
Yep, all works.
I don't see you. That's the.
I'm here. See me okay?
Yep. And welcome to another episode. We're really happy, and I just want to welcome everyone to GPUVerse, where we are talking live dialogue about the world and decentralization. This is episode number 5. I'm Rudy Shushani, your founder of DX Talks. I'm thrilled to be your host and moderator for today's global session. For those joining us for the first time, GPUverse Live Dialogues is part of GPUverse ecosystem, a global series powered by GPU.net. It really connects the world most forward-thinking builders, developers, investors, and AI innovators. Throughout our offline events in Bangalore, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and many more cities coming, now this virtual format, we are uniting the brightest minds that are shaping the decentralized future of compute from AI, Web3 to data infrastructure. Today's discussion dives deep into one of the most crucial layers of the internet, data centers. And I think there's a lot of investments pumping in the data centers. How they are being redefined by decentralized GPU networks and so on. Today's topic, from centralized data farms to decentralized compute grids. We're going to explore more about the shift from the centralization of cloud to decentralized compute, how GPUs are unlocking new efficiencies in AI, Web3 solutions, and workloads, why distributed compute is the key for scalability, accessibility, and cost optimization, most importantly, and what is the transformation means for builders, enterprise, and broader digital economy. At GPU.net, we really believe compute is the new commodity. We are building decentralized layer where anyone and everyone could access, deploy, or even own part of this global compute. If you want to try, you can get some credits from dap.gpu.net or launch a subnet on subnet.gpu.net and join our global community on Telegram, GPU Network. Now, without further ado, let me welcome our brilliant panelists and speakers on today's talk. Sandeep Devarapalli, the CEO, the co-founder of DataZip in Circle, from joining us from the US. Pekka Kelka, Web3 and AI advisor and educator, known Papa Blockchain, based in UAE, and Daniel Schwartz, director of Deepin Foundation, joining us from Thailand. So I'll be your moderator and helping you to try to navigate. If you have any questions, also please do pop them in the chat. So without further delay, let's dive in and explore the decentralization of GPUs. So I just want to welcome everyone to this platform. It's amazing having you guys here. I just want to join us so that we can start this discussion. And then, Sandeep, I'm going to take it with you. How do you see the architecture of data infrastructure evolving in the AI era? Specifically, how can the farm model scale before we are reaching the diminishing returns?
Thank you so much, Rudy, for having me. Hello, everyone. I just want to kind of
If
answer
we
the
can all
question.
mute, yeah. Oh, I think we're muted. Yeah, sorry for that. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So, one of the most important thing right now is that we are still in the era of companies like OpenAI, Microsoft building very, very big data centers. But as we are discussing, these will soon hit a limit. And because of the scale and the kind of reach AI needs to have, people will require a lot of more compute, and that has to be achieved in a different manner for the AI to kind of flourish. And that is where we'll have issues. We need to solve issues around networking, overheads, memory bottlenecks, and so on. Even cooling and other kind of things also are going to be very important. And that is where a kind of hybrid way of compute being available, so that things can be kind of managed, uh, kind of in a distributed manner. It can be on-prem. Some of the compute can go on-prem, and some of the compute can exist on the edge devices. Mobile can also be kind of taking off some of this kind of workloads and make things really like a hybrid model. So that's how I see it evolving.
Yeah. Sandeep, you're a co-founder of DataZip. Can you tell us what is DataZip in short?
Sure. Yes, so we help companies build data lake houses so that they can have a single copy of data and make it available for lots of different workloads and query engines. So that is
Okay,
one what we kind of
perfect.
majorly do.
I'm gonna jump to Daniel. Daniel, can you also do an introductions about Deepin Foundation, and then we'll take the question.
Yeah, sure. Welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I'm on the board of the DPIN Foundation. The mission of the DPIN Foundation is effectively to bring GPU computing to all, and we're creating a decentralized GPU network to support AI applications, people who are cut out from access to sufficient GPU capability, supporting cloud gaming, esports hotels, researchers, small and medium enterprises, uh, effectively utilizing the excess capacity that currently exists in all of the worldwide GPU compute that exists today.
Yeah, very interesting. So I'm gonna follow up on what you said because you are touching on the GPU decentralization part. What's your view on the integration of traditional hyperscaler data centers as nodes or partners in your network?
Okay, here's here's how we kind of look at things. I used to work for the second largest privately held enterprise software company in the US. I was a vice president account director handling Fortune 1000 accounts. Everybody was remote, and all the development people all had AWS instances that they developed on. So they were all into virtual machines. And think about it for a minute, very simply. How many hours a day does that software guy work? Right? You're a software guy. If I'm the software guy, what do we work? 8, 9, 10, 11 hours a day. The company bought us all monthly virtual machine access. So I got assigned a machine that was mine for a month, and they pay all the cost. So what we're doing is on that 10, 12 hours a day that I'm not using my instance, if the company signed up to be part of our DPIN network, DPIN no little e, but D little e pin, decentralized physical infrastructure network, they could sell their unused capacity, those unused hours, connect them up to our system. And when you log in, you want to play a game, you go into the core system we have, and you need a machine that fits what you need. If my company, if I use that company as an example, we had 1,000 instances. Here's an instance for $1 an hour, or 99 cents an hour, or 62 cents, whatever they wanted to charge for it, because it's idle. It's just sitting there and it's already paid for. So effectively, what it can do for the larger company or anybody that's using those kind of resources is effectively totally offset all the cost of providing me as the developer with my machine. So that's how I see integration with these large data centers. I don't personally see it at the AWS or Google Cloud or Azure level. I see it at I'm a company that has 50 instances. You're a company that has 500, and you want to sign up to let us utilize your excess capacity.
Rudy, you muted.
Yeah, well, technology works. It doesn't work sometimes, or it works, but we have to unmute it, right? Pekka, I'll jump to you on the side. From your perspective, the intersection of Web3 and AI merging together, what are those core design trade-offs between centralized GPU farms and decentralized GPU grids in terms of latency, consistency, orchestration? We just heard one utilization uh, from Daniel on how this compute was, just sitting there doing nothing, and now we can utilize it. What's your take on this subject in terms of how it's going to be the merge and what is the trade-offs?
First of all, Dan is my dear friend and colleague from Deepin, so we work together. We are a little bit older side of the crew, of the team, but experience speaks, as you guys know. But Deepin has an interesting strategy and interesting approach, which also is kind of very important to understand. First of all, when you're talking about trade-offs, you should not try to develop something that there is no technology foundation for it. And that's something that Deepin has been very, very clear from the beginning. So we do understand that when it comes to decentralization, what runs on chain, what runs off chain, and these kind of things, we've been very clear. And that's one of the reasons, for example, why for example, now even South Asia governments and the listed corporates, companies are adopting what we do, because we are providing advantage of decentralization. The way that it functions on, for example, validating transactions and understanding, of course, one particular thing that I believe that most of the people don't understand, that when we're talking about decentralized GPU grids, those can be idle GPUs anywhere. They are off-chain, but there's a certain software that communicates on-chain. And then on-chain happens these kind of validations and security things and stuff. And there's a validators and there are on-chain nodes that it has role in there. So it's a hybrid model in that sense. And when it comes to this kind of thinking, of course, there are big problems still today, latency and all kinds of these kind of things that will not even close to what kind of service level the centralized data storage provides today. But if this question, if I would have been if Rudy, if you give me this question in 6 months, 1 year time, the answer will be totally different, because this is developing so fast. And I have a little bit privilege to be older than anyone else, even a little bit older than Danny in this panel. And I started my online career in 1994, and when Web 1 was like very, very like in the beginning. And development from there, and now we've been experienced this, who've been in the beginning of the internet, understand what the challenges and opportunities. But when there is a need and there's a way to do things, people will develop this kind of solutions. And that's also something that I believe that trade-offs are today, and it doesn't. And I hope that also, depending what kind of audience you have. And for example, what we are developing now and launching for these even the government entities and listed organizations, they cannot deal with fiat money. It's simply fiat in, fiat out type of. But what happens on chain, and again, those elements that are on chain, and these GPU grids are not on chain; they are off chain. And this kind of communication needs to be very, very clear and secure, and that we have managed to introduce to these our potential customers today, and they are fine with it. This ecosystem is implemented already, and we're launching in 3 or 4 weeks' time the first big listed company in Southeast Asia, and what I'm saying here is that everybody who wants to be part of this, try to understand do's and don'ts today, which are different than a few months further, and then decentralization. One of my theses I've been 9 years in the industry. One of my this thesis from the beginning has been that the decentralization is a process. And now what we understand what's happening in the world, we are talking RWAs and we're doing all of these kind of things. It's happening now that now even the hardcore decentralized techies, they understand that we probably never will have, well, let's never say never, but a very, very long time, years will go by. We don't have fully decentralized ecosystems. Certain elements needs to be centralized, but how off-chain elements will communicate with on-chain elements, that's the key. And that is these kind of problems what we have today. The problems will be less and less in a few months' time already, not to mention 1-2 years. And then we understand where we are going. We're going to zero knowledge proofs and all kinds of technologies. We are talking different mechanisms today that already technically are there, but there's regulations are coming and interested what we have today. And it's good that we have the communication, by the way, with the regulators. That's also, we cannot function without regulations. So a little bit long answer to your question, Rudy.
Yeah, I totally agree on the last thing, that we cannot function without some regulation out there. We need some independence, but at the same time, for this to become mainstream, we need the communication. This is possibly what we are doing, part of this GPUVerse, so that we are, enhancing this discussion. Daniel, I'm going to jump to you, and then I'll jump back to Sandeep, because we mentioned a couple of stuff, and I just want to take it back. Because you mentioned now, companies usually were assigned a server to certain people, and now this whole business model has changed. But cooling, power, and energy efficiency remain one of the major cost drivers in GPU. And then if we look at the States at this point of time, I remember there was a meeting a couple of weeks that to power this GPU or new data centers, they need a huge new power grids, how they will be able. So it's not about anymore data centers, it's about how can we power those more efficiently. So how does this DeepIn propose to optimize across heterogeneous distributed grids of GPUs? And then what's the solutions in here?
Okay, let me try and address that. One, so from the DeepIn Foundation perspective and our project perspective, technically that's really not our problem. Here's what I mean by that. People who want to participate as part of DeepIn, the foundation, our system, they already have their power problem solved. Right? I have forget the hyperscale, the large data centers. I have a company with 50 machines, or I have a bunch of money and I want to buy 100 or 200 machines and connect them up. I'm going to go into an existing data center with power and maintenance and supervision to host the hardware that I'm providing. And what we're doing, again, our whole architecture is set up to utilize all the excess capacity. It's not around getting a brand new large data center just for us. Now, in Johor Bahru, we have our own data center. That's our regional data center where we put a bunch of machines in, and we have our demonstration center. But in general, across the network, we're utilizing existing capacity that is excess capacity for all people across the spectrum who have them. Plus, some people will invest, put in GPUs themselves, and they will then also have excess capacity. So we're using the existing capacity and the new coming build out capacity. One last point, we're also accessing commercial grade GPUs, 4070s, 5070s, 4090s, 5090s. Of course, folks with H100s and H and B200s, the really big ones, the really expensive ones that are next to impossible to get because Elon and crew are buying so many. Those are usable, but our setup is maybe I'll explain a little bit. One part of our setup is you and Sandeep have a bunch of machines you connect, it's set up like a marketplace almost. You have your 30 machines, you have your 30 machines. They're of different types. You set the price per hour that you want to get paid for your excess capacity when you're connected, and then we'll just pretend I'm a gamer and I log into the central system because CSB, our partner, has the gaming hosted and all that. I log in and it says, well, to play all the stuff I want to play, I need a machine. Here's a configuration, and it selects the configuration and it says, oh, Sandeep, he has the machine for me. I click, I want it, and now I have a session going. So again, we're using the excess capacity, so I don't see us exacerbating, causing issues, with this immense power. Now, I'm not saying the problem goes away. I'm not saying that's not a problem, but again, for us, we're not personally building out large data centers.
Yeah, but what about the optimization? You're not building, but are you working on the optimizations?
Sure. Yeah, we the optimization on our side, and Pekka might be able to add something later, but the optimization from our side is more matching the right resource to the right user at the time. Because if I'm doing AI stuff and I'm communicating human communication, I can live with certain latency. So I could be here because I'm based in Thailand. I could be here and I need to access something. The machine can be anywhere in the world. From the standpoint of if I'm a cloud gamer playing on my tablet in Bangkok, I need access to a server that's within 10 kilometers of where I'm located, so the latency is okay. So the goal of what our optimizations to balance usage around the world to utilize capacity, because power costs less, right, when people are sleeping.
Yeah.
Because the demand, go to America in the middle of the summertime, you have brownouts in the daytime when it's really hot in places that overload the grid. Whereas, so obviously we wouldn't want to be using capacity there. So the idea would be, to use capacity in places where it's not putting demand or where there's significant demand on the power and the utility. But power is a huge, huge problem. I agree.
Very interesting. Sandeep, you're working on as from a data zip, and then you mentioned you were working on creating the next
Data lake houses.
data lakes and OLakes and all of those innovations. How might tokenized compute or marketplace models be embedded into this existing enterprise data stacks? And I think data is I think the key here.
Yes. So when we look at the kind of data AI consumes, it is kind of multimodal. Basically, it consumes the text, that's everyone is very well aware. Then it consumes documents, like PDFs and doc files. And of course, then images, videos, audio. A lot of these things are very difficult to. I mean, people are now beginning to kind of understand how to treat this kind of data at scale, handle this kind of data at scale. So I can assure you that we are only getting started to understand the kind of compute we require to manage the data that we are going to kind of start to analyze. Even and this means that based on the data type, the kind of machine availability, where it has to be available, what is the best place to kind of extract the information right there. For example, on a mobile phone, you can actually kind of do some kind of processing to get the right amount of data and send it to another center, right? So, any very smart tokenization and availability should be kept in so that people can really trade this resource. That's the most important thing. Tokenization should become like a tradable kind of a system, which is easy for people to kind of plug and play. And here, abstraction is going to be very important because you need people should not be worried about what should I pick, what kind of configuration I should be doing. This should not be kind of causing issues. They should all be kind of eased away with the required abstraction so that people can use these extra resources that are idle. and get the benefit of processing the data.
Yeah, very interesting. How this goes, and then how it's gonna be. It's a new way of even thinking about this. Pekka, I'll jump back to you. Um, we cannot talk without talking about tokenomics for this new innovation of GPU compute. How does it work in practice? What incentive models best align for GPU providers, end users, and validators?
Check that I'm unmute. I'm not muted, right? Yeah. So first of all, token functions are pretty much in high level same architecture on any of these smart contract, proof of stake, proof of authority, proof of history, this kind of different blockchain protocols and consensus mechanisms. But if you think the decentralized GPU compute market, for example, then the token can be, of course, it's a medium of exchange. Another role is the incentivization. For example, the miners, staking and collateral, depending on the business model, what you provide to your audience and to different profiles, and then based on this kind of staking things, which I don't know how advanced and experienced your audience is, but the staking is a passive income, which means that your token provides security. If you deposit then on chain and it provides the security on the platform and validate the transactions, then the network provides you passive income, and that's what we call staking. But if there are also mechanisms that can penalize you if you do something funny there, and we call it this like it's malicious behavior type of thing, and then we call it like we are slashing means that some of your tokens will be lost for good. And then, of course, one thing that is picking up now fast, and that's also something to do with the regulations and regulators starting understanding this whole meaning of this blockchain technology, DLT, distributed ledger technology, and especially the public blockchain side of it. There is governance, which means that if you are a token holder, you can participate on decision making, what's happening on chain and the ecosystem, and that's very, very important, interesting. But this needs to be developed further to really provide good mechanisms for this kind of governance systems. And then, well, of course, if it's token needs to be aligned with these different kind of stakeholders, and again, GPU providers I mentioned already. When they're providing their resources, their compute to the networks, they will get rewards provided based on this compute they provide. And then, of course, the quality of service incentives also for the GPU providers, and then staking again for them if they want to have this they earn passive income. End users, of course. Cost efficiency is something that is very important for them, provided by the token, and the flexibility and choice. Depending on the mechanisms, you have this choice to remove, withdraw the tokens on the chain, not locked up at all, and putting more and stuff. That's really interesting finance mechanism, if I say. And then again, if we're talking about blockchain itself and the role of the token itself, because all these transactions are recorded and they're recorded for good. You can go back and check this. It is this transparent mechanism to see what's happening on the chain, on your platform. And auditability is, of course, because it's real time and all everybody will be recorded. And very important is token utility, and that's something that we need to focus a lot more, because when some people are launching the utility tokens and they're practically zero utility, and that's one of the headaches also regulators.
Yeah, zero utility is a problem.
Yes, exactly. Even though there is some projects claim that they have utility on the token, and then of course validators who are very, very important role, as mentioned, the security already. and they're verificating the rewards. Again, if you're a validator, you enjoy the staking rewards, and you're providing security. And again, validator definitely can be the governance participation with the tokens you have. So that's pretty much my answer for this.
I think when we talk about tokenization and this part, my next question to Daniel, possibly going to be part of the enablers from tokenization into, and Daniel, this is for you, the community part when they run GPU nodes. They are small operators. They want to compete. How can they compete with enterprises or cloud providers on reliability, security, and throughput? What mechanism helps them bridge this gap? Noting we possibly help them, into the tokenization part of how they can monetize and sustainability. But what about the real challenge of trust?
Okay, one of the advantages we have at DPIN is having this broad access to a huge pool of resource. So from our perspective, we don't have that eliminates single points of failure and things like that. So the smaller folks, they're participating, and they're not providing, quote, dedicated facilities. And from the user side, the platform has the ability to switch and find the most reliable. It depends how actually the end user decides to connect into the system. If they're going to use your GPU, or we're going to randomly assign one. It's not done randomly. I mean, it's AI generated based on AI driven, based on where they're located, where the resources located, what the requirement is. But the robustness and the high reliability is built in on our side, not worried so much from the smaller operator with their commercial grade equipment.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how this proposition and changes where it's not just the business model, the operation as we speak. Sandeep, I'll jump back to you on the idle GPUs, which are glaring on inefficiencies in many AI pipelines. How might enterprises monetize or dynamically lease their space or spare GPUs, let's call it, without compromising security level agreements or the SLAs from performance perspective, from response perspective, and from security perspective?
Yes, sure. So, when we talk about big enterprise, not only they have different kinds of departments like product, marketing, sales, and so on, they also have their subdivisions or other kind of their subsidiaries across the world. So even within an enterprise, leveraging the compute in the right manner, the shared manner, so that you don't have much idle GPU time, that is going to be very challenging. And the central piece for that is two things. There should be good enough isolation and trust. So what I mean by isolation is that when someone is running a workload, it should not be affecting the requirements or SLAs of other workloads which are already running or might be running at the same time, right? So that is super crucial. This is one factor which will really bring in success and good adoption. And when you want to open up your GPU idle times for other someone out of the company, someone who is not part of the kind of the ecosystem of the enterprise, then that is going to be even more challenging because you need to ensure that the kind of required trust is in place, the verifiable compute is in place, the encryption is in place, and the traceability and audit is in place, logs are in place, so that people can kind of come and use and kind of uh, pay for what they have used, and enterprise can account it safely and all while ensuring that their goal of using GPUs is not affected. So these are some of the points I can definitely see kind of affecting it. Sorry, you are on mute.
I know. I'm trying to reach that mute button. Pekka, Sandeep, it's very interesting how you get to come and find solutions. I'll jump back to Pekka and then data localization. You mentioned regulations, sovereignty laws, the regulation constraints, GDPR, data residency, depending where you are. It really poses somehow some barriers to compute grids that cross the borders. For example, how can decentralization of the compute networks remain compliant yet efficient, yet providing the service, and it's for everyone?
First of all,
Challenging question. I know.
it is, but if you think what Web 2 is providing us in this sense, we start from the zero, because who owns your data on Web 2? Who can handle your data any possible way? So that's kind of a starting point, and that's also something that when I'm talking with regulators, for example, in Dubai with VARA and in ADGM in Abu Dhabi, and I start from there and then try to explain them that these mechanisms are definitely a step to right direction. And then all these things that decentralization provides, if we understand that there needs to be certain mechanisms, for example, to clarify your identity. We are still struggling with know your customer, anti-money laundering things when it comes to these ecosystems. But the development is so huge; it's incredible. And I'm a big fan of Chainlink, by the way. If some people maybe even know that that Ethereum and Chainlink, that's where I come from. Sorry, guys, but there are certain reasons for that, and Chainlink has been from the day one. Chainlink has introduced the mechanism of connecting the off-chain data and off-chain mechanisms and services on-chain and back with Oracle technologies, and now of course this cross interoperability protocol, cross-chain transaction and so forth. But the latest is really I'm a little bit sad that it has not gained enough attention in the industry, because it's one of these Chainlink's beautiful, incredible services applications. What they provide is called Chainlink Automated Compliance Engine, and all kinds of mechanisms are included in this. Which there are decentralized ID. They are with this ecosystem, this part of the ecosystem, what Chainlink is giving to us. They're also handling KYC challenges and on these kind of things. So technology is much further away than the implementation, wider implementation. And why we are struggling with this? First of all, we are not very good on talking with regulators, and also they are hesitant to listen to us, because some of them in certain countries they depend on TradFi, they depend on the existing banking systems and stuff. But now, if you think what happened in January 24, when the first big decentralized fund was launched by BlackRock, Buell. And from that point, the RWA started to roll on, and the system, what there is there's certain protocols that also, by the way, embedded on the Chainlink's automated compliance engine, is the one certain protocol from Ethereum ecosystem, which is called ERC 3643, which means that there's everything that runs on public blockchain will be certified, which means that it's permissioned layer on permissionless blockchain. And this is, if we try to understand that this is the way to proceed, this is the way we need to introduce this, that guys, don't you worry, we will provide you more secure, more trusted versions of internet that we have today, and you still control your data, you control your ID, but the zero knowledge proof is developing fast. But that's something, and Web 2 is so ruined. So, and now we just need to take these steps further. First of all, implementing these technologies, introducing them to regulators, and then of course data localization has always been a big headache. By the way, I worked on data center business in Dubai 2010 and 2.5 years after that. I'm so sad that I didn't recognize Bitcoin those years, but then we were struggling because we were introducing the cloud services, cloud data centers, and that time, for example, banks and financial institutions in the Middle East, they need to store the data in-house on their premises. That was by law in 2010 and later on. So that was impossible to do anything with them on anything external. So they inside their buildings needs to be this data server rooms and stuff. And from that point further, where we are today, regulators understand that we can secure these things. And now if they will start to understand further and further that, okay, let's move the central elements. Let's trust the code. Let's trust these applications, smart contracts, because they're tested, they are the best possible solution, and democratic and fair, and all these kind of things. Everything is this trustless, which means that we don't need to provide the third party trust on anything. This is the way I see all these kind of things that we are having today, problems with Web 2, going further on decentralized mechanisms. Also, when it comes to data localization and cross-border and so forth.
Very interesting. I think the whole landscape has changed, and then I second you. You were early in detecting, but you didn't go in the network itself when it was created in 2009, and then early on 2010 and 11. That's unfortunate, but look where we are today. Still immersed, highly immersed, from network and blockchain and solutions and so on and so on. And I'll jump to Daniel. We're talking about DePIN, or in specific, maybe GPU DePINs that are scaling. What governance, tokenization, or on-chain business models do you envision for really ensuring those data centers, whether small or large, or third parties, act sustainably, accountable, and accountability on the participation in this ecosystem for it to be safe, and then provide a safe service?
All right, that's kind of a multi-question. One thing is built into the tokenomics, built into the system, needs to be this on-chain accountability and governance. So reporting and rating and serviceability, and using smart contracts to enforce these SLAs. And on the oversight, the whole system has to be overseen as a DAO, as a decentralized autonomous organization. The way we run the DePIN Foundation, it's run like a DAO in the sense that the community, who are all the token holders, have a substantial say in how the foundation operates. In other words, if you go look at the DePIN Foundation, you won't see somebody with the title CEO. We have president of this, president of that, president of computing, education, operations. And for our own network, we're responsible as a foundation to be the good stewards of the DePIN token, DPN now, token that is used to manage the whole process. But the foundation is not the sole party with all the votes. We also have the partners who are providing the technical and the financial aspects. And very clearly, we have a very large community of token holders represented by the people who are holding lots of tokens, and we're responsible for generating lots of the token sales that funded the development. All of them together get a vote. So the foundation can't just say we're doing something, right? If the foundation thinks this is what we should do, we make a proposal, and then we work with the community and socialize that proposal to enable it to get implemented, discussed, adjusted, whatever. So it's a very cooperative mode. And then the tokenization part, everything flows through the token, which then deals with supporting the network and making it sustainable. And Pekka was talking about on chain, off chain. There's currently, at least how we've got it implemented, at the moment, some things are on chain, a bunch of things are not on chain. Eventually, it all will wind up on chain. So I see that as a way kind of to manage this whole process and ensure that it stays balanced, because in the end, we have a community who hold and own and bought the tokens and things like that. We have the other part of the ecosystem are all the people who have the GPUs, and some of the GPU providers happen to be us, because some of the capacity we provide ourselves, some of the capacity people invest in to buy dedicated GPU capability, and the rest is all the shared GPUs that are underutilized today. So putting that all together, everybody gets a vote, everybody gets a voice, and at least the way we see it, is operating it in more of a DAO form. And it'll evolve, at least our model will evolve eventually to becoming a pure DAO, with all the votes being on chain and the like.
Yeah, it's interesting to see it going in the DAO perspective. And I think this is the best way and best vehicle engine to take it to the next level. Very interesting. Thank you for I was thinking of what will be that answer, and then you just answered me in a very nice way, because I think exactly that's the future. And the only way, I think that's the only way, because we're going fully autonomous and at the same time fully questionable, so that we can also have all of the elements that makes this DAO or makes this movement real. So thanks. I'll jump to Sandeep. When will it make sense, from your vantage point, for data centers to become on-chain business entities or adopt deepen models? We're seeing a huge investment now, 600 billions here, 600 billions here. We're seeing a whole mess of investments. I did a movie or a reel couple of days back, trying to explain what's happening with this circular investment. So AMD investing in OpenAI investing in NVIDIA investing in Intel investing in whatever, Microsoft invest. So it's a circle, it's like I have $100 and then I give it to you, and then you give it back, and you give it back, and you give it back. So everybody is happy because the market is going up. That's from financial investments. But from real data centers, is it something viable for them to start going on chain?
So I think the economics is definitely going to be the real driver. So when people have to supply energy to make the data centers function, and if the people who are trying to use this to kind of utilize compute to serve their end customers, so that they get the right kind of latency, they're able to kind of achieve their workloads in the right manner, in an efficient manner. That is when kind of those will be definitely the drivers. Now, to when this will happen, what I can understand from the market right now is that people or companies like OpenAI are very serious about giving a very, very good experience to the end users. They want to kind of ensure that their end users get the best of the models at the right kind of latency, so that they can build cutting edge use cases. They also want adoption to happen very, very widely, so that they are able to kind of like people are more used to their kind of solutions. So that seems to be the focus right now. This can be, you can draw parallels to the world where social media applications like Instagram and Facebook try to kind of focus on growth in terms of users being onboarded on the platform and trying to kind of make it a regular part of their lives. That is the kind of thing that we are right now seeing. As things start to, when companies start to monetize these their offerings, then they will now search for efficiencies, and that is when I feel a lot of these hybrid models and decentralized models, etc., will start to take more prominence because it is economics. They have to kind of make the things work out, right? Unit economics should be working out for them. That is when, yeah. So that is how I'm thinking.
Very interesting. The whole world is really changing. Um, and Becca, I'm gonna jump maybe the last question, and then we start rounding up. Um, can you comment on how Deepin, as in decentralized physical infrastructure network, might evolve to encompass the compute, not just storage or bandwidth, and what are technical or governance challenges that you actually foresee for the future?
Well, no problems in the future. Let's leave it there. Sorry,
Or
but
less
yeah,
problems in the future.
of course. But but let's put it this way. I'm kind of repeating myself many times already that the development is faster than we ever could have imagined a few years ago in any sector. But then of course the most important ingredients what we have now when we talk about anything decentralization, anything related to decentralization, they are related to AI simultaneously. And that's something that you mentioned rightfully, Rudy, about this, what's happening with the big guys. They are circulating the money, but they're just not circulating 100 billions. They are circulating tens of billions, which is a little bit different thing.
And then they are buying back the same stock. So it's like,
there you go. But from the infrastructure perspective, these guys have decided to conquer the world, from GPU world, the AI world. And there's a funny thing, maybe you've noticed, if you not pay a little attention, they are now introducing not data centers. You know what they're introducing now? AI factories. They are huge GPU farms, like kilometers and kilometers of all kinds of servers well, power use is incredible. Of course, there's liquid cooling, immersed, whatever cooling systems there are, which is more efficient. But they decide to conquer the world, and that's what we are fighting against. But of course, the challenges today, what you kind of referring to, Rudy, of course, we have this. There's still, of course, the how would I say? First of all, the AI is a catalyst of everything, and if we keep this in mind, then there are certain things that is a little bit difficult today. But again, I believe in the future those grids that are functioning everywhere in the world, they will be the solution also to compete with the other guys, the big guys. They will have their role with the big all the other big guys like money guys and stuff and governments, but partially they will run also on chain. That's what I believe in, like the chain link type of mechanisms. But from storage to bandwidth to the compute, that's incentivizing individuals, organizations. That's still something that is not function. There are many, of course, regulatory challenges on this, and then again. If we think the technical challenges, this is verifiability of the compute. It is still challenging. Need to have better software for that. Redundant computation. Then zero knowledge proof technology, which is really, really important for the development of everything we have on the decentralized world. And again, mentioned many times, it's every one of us in this call have mentioned the latency and network bottlenecks. So scalability of blockchain infrastructure. So then, of course, governance is one thing that Rudy mentioned. The DAOs is really, I'm also a big believer in DAOs. So reputation, quality of service and reputation. A lot to do still on that side of it, and dispute resolution is also something that needs to be clear and better. When it comes to upgrades and protocol changes, how this DAO will and governance systems will react on this. And again, the cherry on the cake, of course, is regulatory compliance. So that's how I say. But this is the current status. But I hope that we as the decentralized community of the world understand that we need to do certain things, collaborate with regulators and stuff, but understand who are we fighting against, and who are we fighting? We are fighting these guys who own Web 2, and they are not taking baby steps; they are frog leaping.
Yeah. But I hope they are trying to configure, or think there will be a lot of dead compute power sitting there. It's going to be a huge problem. I hope they really find alternative, or adding the deepen technology part of
Rudy, what is the alternative for these guys? Blockchain.
They own the Web 2, right? But
yes.
Traditional business models are gonna be there, and we know that the compute will be working from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. let's say, and then after that it's gonna die. That's how everything works in the Web 2 world. So what are we going to do? Because guess what? Cooling power, employees, this is running cost. It's happening. So how can they add this part of their offerings so that they also sustainability part of things? It's very crucial. Yeah. So last round, and this is where Daniel, I'll jump into the hyperscaler part. How do you envision the role of this hyperscaler data centers as a backbone of the super nodes? Is it going to be a hybrid mesh or full on gateways? What are the technical economical challenges of bringing this architecture?
Okay, so as I discussed before, the role of these hyperscalers, at least, okay, if I look at our model specifically, we're dealing one level below them. We're actually dealing at their customer level. So them having huge compute capacity is good for us in the sense that all of their customers will have excess capacity when they're not using the instances they have purchased. Talking about, AWS selling me a dedicated instance. That's part one. But I see as we move forward, we will get to, Pekka might have a comment in a minute, but this is my view. We will move forward as we grow, as we have substantial usage, especially the demand side is the key, that we would look at them being as super nodes in our network directly, because obviously I suspect they have some excess capacity too of their own, or they would love, because in our model, for instance, if you had $1 million, you could buy $1 million worth of GPU capacity in terms of the systems, H100s, 4070, 4090, 5070, 5090 systems, and we can get them put in a data center and use them exclusively for DeepIn, our project. So I can see that kind of role also happening. So I think it's kind of a hybrid. Our goal at DeepIn, the DeepIn Foundation, and our implementation is not to get rid of those guys, not to supplant them. I see them having a big opportunity and us having a big opportunity to work with them.
Yeah, interesting. That convergence of co-working all together hopefully will be something.
For sure.
And then I'll jump into the last question with Sandeep. And I'm going to have one last question for all. I know time, some of you have to leave. Given your experience, Sandeep, in building the centralized data center, what are the critical inflection points in terms of cost, latency, energy? We discussed a couple of them, but maybe we can discuss the business model or some other parts, but it become compelling to this transition?
Yes. So when you look at it from the business side, definitely the cost per flop is going to be a very important metric that will be driving a lot of decisions in terms of how people want to kind of mix their workloads in terms of the hybrid offering they want to go forward with, and of course, latency sensitivity and things like energy efficiency, right? These are definitely some of the most important things that will also start coming up. Uh, you must have seen a lot of discussion on like if you were to run this query, how much energy to when consume. People try to draw parallels between energy utilized by a single home, right? So these kind of things, people are very actually curious, and companies also will start putting those numbers out in terms of what efficiencies are they achieving, kind of in energy saving and so on. People are also trying to think of innovative ways to host data centers. Submerged data centers is something Microsoft has been working on for a lot of time now. People are trying to deploy on the lakes and rivers. So different kinds geothermal energy being utilized to power data centers. So kind of so many other projects people are trying to kind of experiment with to ensure that different kind of options are available at the end of the day, so that the business can become more viable. The business model can become more flexible, right? So these are some of the things that will basically decide, and definitely hybrid data centers are going to be more and more common going forward. So that is what I can definitely add.
All right, very interesting. So my last question will be to all. It's really interesting, to find and wind this last idea of the shift in this data infrastructure from centralized to decentralized computer grids. Just wanna, maybe a sentence. What will be the biggest bottlenecks that we need, or the challenges that we need to overcome, and what are the quick solutions from possibly perspective of politics, perspective of regulation, technology, just as a summary, so that we can wind this with a positive spin from challenges into real solutions. And this is question, we'll start with Sandeep if you want, or Pekka.
So I
Sandy, you
just
start.
want to
Go ahead.
Yes, yes. So I just want to touch upon data localization, data sovereignty kind of aspects, right? So I think one thing I can see the big players like OpenAI doing is that they're trying to partner with governments to come and set up data centers and infrastructure in their own country, serving their own people. The same, the technology is the same. It's just that they want to ensure that uh, they want to win the confidence of the sovereign governments. That is where we will be seeing a lot of play. And within that, there will be decentralization is what I'm trying to, that's how I'm trying to see the things evolving into.
All right, thanks, Sandeep. Pekka, and then we'll jump into the last. I hope, are you still here, Daniel? Pekka, what's your take on this?
Right. Dan maybe needed to leave already. But anyways, briefly, everything needs to be more mature from technology's perspective. Interoperability, secure interoperability, all kinds of TPS things needs to be solved out. Security, everything needs to be much more secure than internet is today. Availability, all these kind of things, which are technical challenges, bottlenecks today, compared to the centralized systems today. But the hope, there's even these big guys, they believe that the AI will be. Well, we know that AI is there are so big opportunities, but so big challenges. And for example, at least Rudy knows, but there's this huge company in Abu Dhabi, huge AI company which goes G42, and their CEO Peng Xio, I believe it's pronounced his name. Sorry about the wrong pronunciation. But anyways, he was in a panel with Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, and both said that AI needs to run on blockchain. There needs to be decentralized foundation for AI to give control on the mechanisms that will be safe for the people, for the society, for society. And this is the view what they have. Let's support that. Let's develop these things towards this, because AI is the driving force. It is the ingredients what we have there, and never goes away. It's going bigger and bigger. But we need to develop more secure, more scalable foundation based on decentralized technologies.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting. Thank you guys. For those that are watching, just make sure you like, share, and help us in spreading this, because I think it has a lot of value. So make sure. And most importantly, I think it is an insightful with high energy discussion. Thank you for our amazing speakers, Sandeep, Becca, and Daniel, for sharing this expertise and vision. And to all of you that are tuning in across the world. At GPU.net, the mission is clear. Compute is the new commodity. Own compute, own GPU. Don't forget, the first 30 live attendants today will have 5 hours of complimentary GPU compute credits. So if you want to train, deploy, experiment, that's your chance today on GPU.net. Try dap.gpu.net. Launch your subnet on subnet.gpu.net, and follow us on Telegram, GPU Network. We'll see you again next episode next week for GPUVerse Live Dialogues, continuing our journey through AI, Deepen, Gen AI, and beyond. Until next time, most importantly, keep building, keep innovating, and always think GPUVerse. See you next week with another episode.
Thanks, guys. It was a lot of fun. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Thank you.